So, welcome to another episode of the Kelty Hearts podcast. Joined today by Ian and Craig. How are you doing?
Fine. Alright.
Good. So, we're going to cover a bit of the 50-year anniversary in today's episode. So, we're going to have a look at some key points through our history. I'll start with yourself, Ian. 1978 that you joined. What do you think, I suppose, is the biggest difference between when you joined and somebody coming into the club today?
You just have to look about and see it. I mean, way back in the day, the facilities were basic, to say the least. The pavilion was run down. There wasn't any money. The council didn't have any money, so we ended up having a whip round. Everybody had all paint line in their garage, so we mixed it all together and that gave us paint. Everything was done by volunteers and supporters and guys that we knew. And we kind of got the place looking as good as it can be. The last year of the amateurs was a tough season because that was the year that we done all the work to get the facilities ready for going into the juniors in 80. Tough year, but I think we finished third bottom. The guys that sold the most scratch tickets were the first names on the team sheet way back in the day, and that's how it was. But you know, we got the pitch sorted, we got the fence. The fence was made with old flooring for the renovations in Kelty. So it was a tough year, but we finally got into the league, the juniors, in 1980, and brought junior football back into the village.
Was that the goal? Like when you joined in '78, were they already thinking?
Yeah, the committee, the amateurs, you know, a successful amateur team, without a doubt. Won numerous cups and, you know, a couple of league titles and stuff. And the ambition, you know, we speak about ambition. The ambition's still the same, as to be as good as we can be. When I sort of became chairman in '78, then the baton was handed to me to try and get the club into the juniors, which we achieved. And then, I mean, the first 10 years, the 80s, you know, break up at the 80s, 90s, the 90s, whatever. But the 1980s were unbelievable, really. When you think to where we'd come in a couple of years. We used to take a double-decker bus to every away game. It was absolutely crazy. But you know, we were successful. I think we won some like 13 cup finals on the bounce. Never won the league in the 80s. But it was an absolute blast.
What was the first one?
The first trophy.
For the junior.
The first trophy was the County Cup, way back in 1981. We won 2 trophies the very first season. The first season we were runners up in the league to Hallbeath, who were the top team back then. Hallbeath, Oakley United, Glenrothes, and we were runners up. And obviously Jim Leishman came in as a manager and kind of grounded us a wee bit because we were all drunk, finishing second. And Jim came in and he says, if you're happy being second, I'm away. He says, my ambition is to be first. Yeah. And it kind of sort of, that sort of, you know, a jolt. But, you know, he came in and that close season, we signed a lot of good players. And then Jim went on to better things, and so did we, to be fair.
Any of them stand out when you say about these signings? Is there any that stood out for you?
Well, I mean, the first player to go senior, if you like, which was a big thing back in the day, was what was his name now? Drew, I can't remember. Anyway, we signed him for Kirkcaldy YM. Drew Patterson signed him for Kirkcaldy YM. Was an amateur, came up here, scored goals for fun, winger, old-fashioned right winger, and was sticking out for us. And Alec Totten came up and signed him for Alloa.
Right. What about yourself, Tiger? What was when did you join Kelty? What's your earliest memory of Kelty?
Earliest memory? I won't probably be signing with him. I signed from Montrose. I came in to actually agree to sign Ian was there. We got a phone call from Rob Morris, who's manager. I'd been at Montrose with Steph for about maybe, I don't know, 4 months, and travelling just killed me with my work, so I wanted back down the road. And Kelty, you always knew the name. Kelty and Hullabeath were the two names at that time. You're going to the late 90s, 97. And I got a phone call, says, we want to speak to you. I says, no bother. I says, where about? Lindsay Tavern. I thought, this is going to only go one way, this. And I minded sitting in the lounge with Ian and George and Rob and Billy McKenzie, and spoke to the guys, and just the enthusiasm for them. I knew it was the right move at the right time, and I was here nearly 8 years as a player. I could say I loved every minute of it. Probably didn't love my last half season, but that was down to the management that was there at the time. But listen, that's football, and these things happen. When I moved on, but massive club in the junior ranks, and Ian's rattled off a few teams there. Hullabeath in their day, Glenorths Oakley, as he says, and Hullabeath. Obviously, you've got to tip your hat to them as well, because they were the benchmark for us. I think you'd agree they were up there, eh? And we had to go and match them, and I think we've done that and some.
How does Tiger rank on the players that you brought in?
Oh, he's up there. He's up there. He was top goal scorer for most of the time he was here. But I remember that night as well, and I think Craig bought a round that night. It's the first time he's ever bought a round at Kelty.
I think I won a
the
draw.
only time he's ever bought a round. But no, listen, that at that time we had brought Rob Morris in, and that was the start of starting to compete. No, just in can we talk about the 80s, the 90s? We won 3 leagues on the bounce for first 3 years of that decade, and then we brought Rob Morris in. Rob, I think, is still the longest serving manager at the club. He was here for 5 years, but we had a plan, and Rob came in and we signed some top players. And Rob's thing was, because he'd played senior, and was to try and make a stamp on the national, Scottish Cup and stuff. We had dabbled, last 16 a few times, and then Rob came in, and obviously his contacts, and brought Billy Bennett in to help him, and him and Billy were great, and we managed to get some funding and some sponsorship, so we managed to go and sign some really, really good players, experienced juniors. We signed Joe Lister for St Andrews, the goalkeeper. Craig came in, Spencer, Al McKillop. We signed David Bowman.
Aye.
David Bowman played in a UEFA Cup final.
Was he on the bench at the New Camp, or did he?
He was on the bench. Came playing in the League Cup. We won the League Cup with Luton was at Hibs,
yep.
And he had retired early to go into the police force. And Rob knew him, because Rob was at Forfar, Dundee United. So we brought David Bowman in, and honestly, wow. But Ken, we signed Bomber Harris. Ken, 3 or 4 years previous, he had been 100,000 signing for Dumbarton to Hibs, I think it was. Ken, so that was the level of player that we were bringing in, and then knocked on the door a couple of times, and he managed to get to the cup final in '99, which was an absolutely monumental thing for the village, for the club. And you spoke earlier about where we were. That for me was the turning point, because although we were winning trophies and winning cups and leagues in Fife, it was every top 5 team at that time was to knock on the door, and Hullabeath obviously won the Junior Cup in '90. So we won the league 3 years at the back of that. So we're talking about progression, and if I go back to the day that we, Davy Roy, absolute iconic person in junior football, he come up and inspected the pitch and got friendly. We went over there and beat them that night, 2-1. And it was like, Kelty, who are Kelty? And we got in, it was great. And I remember many years later, when we played, when Lithgow always went into the boardroom and had a cup of tea with Davy.
Yeah.
He's no longer with us, but Davy said best thing he ever done when he was the chairman, president of the Scottish Juniors was like Kelty in the league. because at that time it was Super League, we were, won the Super League a couple of times, and we had sort of really progressed during that time. So, aye, it's amazing how you build the bricks, and after the cup final in '99, for me, it was a turning point.
So the transition to the SPFL is probably the one that sticks in people's mind the most, but this wasn't something that was new to Kelty. That's
well, remember we went to the Junior Cup final again in 2007, which was a massive achievement as well, and just, for me, the twice we got to the final, we probably, arguably played the best team in Scotland. Got won every trophy they went in for through the West, and Lithgow won every trophy they went in for in the East. So, but to get to the two finals again was just, building the bricks up to put us up there. And I mean, the East End Park, they spoke to Jim, and Jim came let us play at the park, and they were wanting us to play through the West, but when Lithgow and ourselves went to the SGIFA and said, look, Ken, so the crowd is in the record books as 9,900 now, but Jim was there that day, and they had to let more people in to the stand across from the main stand.
It was a delayed kick-off that day, wasn't it?
And I said to Jim, how many? And Jim Leishman said to me that day, there's over 11,000 in here, because he knew if these stands were all full, and he says there were about 11,000.
When has he ever seen the stands for East End? Other than that,
near sea. I've seen it back in the olden days. I was one of the guys up the Pylon many years ago. Anyway.
What do you think the draw was? You might be able to say, you obviously wanted to come home, but what was it? You named off all those players that came and signed for Kelty Junior Football Club at the time. What was the draw?
Well, I mean, as a player-wise, you only had two teams basically that you would look if your ambition to win anything at all. It was Kelty or Hull who were winning all the trophies. Listen, as we've touched on Oakland, I know it's maybe nipped in with a Fife Cup here and there, but league title-wise, if you look back, it's predominantly Kelty or Hull. So you picked one, and there's a few players played with both. Now, which was unusual to start with, but I think myself, Steph, Tam and Conrad,
Billy McKenzie,
but Billy Spence,
Billy played
he missed a few, but there is another few that's done both, which was back in the day.
I could that's from a player's point of view. For me, right, as committee chairman, whatever, that the things that used to attract players was facilities. If you had a couple of quid, that was a choice for the player. But the other thing for me was playing with good players. Now, Kelty never had great facilities, so we had to try and sign. And I don't know what it was, Shaun, if I was to be honest with you, but Kelty always had something. I don't know what it is, but we made signings like, I remember us signing Aaron Muffet, who was here for 14-15 years. One of the best signings we've ever made, right? And at that time we used to do a fundraising disco and stuff. We managed to get the money, and we signed them for Hallbeath, and I'm talking about 1982, 83 maybe. And we signed them for £1,000 to Hallbeath, right? And I still say to this day, it was the best £1,000 this club ever spent, because for 10, 12 years, 15 years he was here, whenever we went into somebody's house to sign a player, they wanted to come and play with good players, and at that time, Adam was up there as, he was getting mentioned for Scotland, and he was you ask any players, you will ask better, but for me, he was a pal of mine, and for the adult years and stuff, but he was the best, one of the best players. But when you went into players' houses, I play with good players. So, I could go to Tommy Conde, I could go to the players, Campbell Jury, at the end of the day. But then, it's turned now. Many times I've heard players, when they're getting interviewed, come in now, they're talking about the facilities. So, we've turned it on its head, if you like. You know, and again, go back to that Linlithgow night. Davey showed me around the facilities, and I said that night, in 1980, I would love for Kelty to have something like this. So,
it's funny you talk about Muff there, a wee story about Adam Muff at the semi-final at Livingston. Great day, the club were excellent. They done what they done for us. It was a Friday.
Pre-match meal.
And the pre-match meal, and was it up Paul, a hotel, and
we got the same place as
Man United, and
Leishman
come up and gave us a spiel, and they made you feel great, and you're just sitting there in awe of somebody of that stature, and so we were underdogs even against Petershill that night.
Petershill.
And you turn up and we got the home change room, I can mind that, and the new strips, the white strips, the photos up there, and the strips were up, and you go in and you're like, wow, this is great. And the club done, as I say, superb for us that day. And you get out and you're warming up, and there was very little limit with the main stand open, and eventually Kelty's filled the main stand, and then we've got fans behind the goals. I think Gordon Dury and that were on the hill with a carry out, at that time Livingston's Park wasn't it?
Andy Murray wasn't.
So they're up there, and Petershill had maybe 200-300, I don't know what they had. A wee, and right away you're like, wow. And then we won the game 3-1, and Adam Muffet gets man of the match. The Muff must have been 41 anyway, at least 41, and we're in the change room after the game, and obviously you're celebrating, have you? And down comes the Scotland manager and inquires about Adam Muffet for the Scotland junior team at 41-year-old. I think which he kindly says, look, I'm maybe past that.
But remember we went doing the what they be.
I'll leave that story out.
what they be for a pre-season tour, and then Adam controlled the game, and there was a scout there. Who's the young boy in the middle of the park? You want to say him? I don't know. He's 40. Yeah, so,
exceptional, eh?
Brilliant. Absolutely great. Great memories, eh?
Right.
Great memories.
It started with one of our own staff members becoming a player. Innes Murray has been with us since 2024, and we really wanted to, I suppose, we want to give something back to community clubs, you know. So we realised that funding and things like that are really hard in terms of just for sort of local clubs to sort of generate to kind of offer the outreach programs that they do in the community. And I think that allowing us, or us partnering with teams such as Kelty, it seems a really natural synergy. So we are hopefully able to return some value to the club, and also sort of provide some financial structure for Kelty players, Kelty staff, and Kelty fans.
Years you've been involved close to Tiger. You look surprised by the 97. We're closing on
good
27. Was it, obviously you joined when the club was already quite successful, and we are where we are now. Within that, was there a point where you thought this club's going somewhere? I mean, it was already successful, but was there another point where you think it went up a notch?
I think when you go back to probably when I appointed Tam Kurtz as manager, Tam took over when they were in the Super League. We nearly got relegated. I come in as Tam's assistant for the last half of the season, so I'll take credit for that. Although he went to United, it didn't take me well.
I think it was at the bottom before.
We ended up in the playoff with Dalkeith, maybe? Was it Dalkeith?
It was played at Dalkeith.
I think we beat them 5-0 and we beat them 1-0. So they survived the skin of their teeth in the Super League, and then the next season they won the Super League. And the Hungary Tam, everybody knows what like he is, and he's went on to do great, and he will go on and do even better things. But for then, I think the club just got a drive for that season of winning that league, and it was a case of how far can they go, and it's probably still like that. Obviously there's a ceiling for a club of this size. Personally, I still feel that we're maybe punching above our weight at times, especially what's this fourth year in the first division, and you look at teams round about us and teams who've fell a wee bit and went down into the lower league, if you like. And it's no disrespect, but I mean, Cowden Beasts, your Brecons, your Albion Rovers, your East Stirlings, Berwick Rangers of this world. You've got all them, then you've got everybody in the second division, big teams in the second division, and we're sitting battling away with your Hamiltons, your Queen of the South, you know, and we've been in Inverness, we've been in beside Falkirk, we've been in beside Dunfermline, and we're a team that's obviously 50-year-old in terms of age, but in terms of SPL, what was it, 5 year? I think if it is 5 year, but we've been in the league, so it's you could make a movie probably of what we've done from then to now.
See when you go back to when Dan Courts took over, Dan's recruitment that next season after staying in the league was incredible. When you brought in guys like Shaun, Greg, you know,
Big Shark,
you know, and obviously I've got to say that the investment for Dean and the conservatory converters gave us that bit of, you know, momentum as well. I've got to say that, right?
Definitely.
And Tam, you know, done great. Couple of seasons, we won the Super League 15. Now, I still say to this day that if we hadn't laid the pitch in 2016, you know, we would have won the Super League the next season as well. But Bonnyrigg won it, and we were sitting there. But we played our first 10 games or 6 games a week again. So we laid the pitch that time, and then we won the league in 17 then. And if you remember the first game, after we went to play Bonnyrigg, first game of the season, and beat them well that day.
Yep.
So that time of the year was quite exciting, and we had a good team, and you know, that's when we changed from juniors to seniors, and all the turmoil, you know, going out east to Scotland, and you know, it was a turbulent time, but a great time to look back on. And then when Tam decided to sort of move on, and we brought in Barry then, and Barry, we thought, you know, great, but Barry, his expectations were, you know, he went up a level again, and then over a period of time, Barry moved some of the guys out who had been here a few years, and he brought in his own player. So, you know, go back to the olden days when Jim Leishman, recruitment was massive then, and it's still massive. Not just in our league, but you see what's going on all over the world. Recruitment's massive.
Recruitment's a big part of your role now. You see, if somebody had told you back in '97 that roll forward like 28 years, you'd be sporting director recruiting for SPFL League One, Kelty Hearts, Youth Academy, what would you have said?
I'd have probably tried to keep myself out fit and recruit myself. Seen in the money that's thrown about the new. No, it's a pinch me moment in it, because I never ever thought I'd be involved at the club as long as some of the guys, I mean,
It's great for me to see boys like Craig, Steph Manarski, Stuart Mull, former players, you know, guys like George McTrusty, Percival Shum, you know, who are at the helm now and running the show, and that's great for me to look in and say, you know, because it's the Kelty players and ex-players, they feel for the club, and that's what's got us through all these years, that we were all pals, we were all on the committee way back in the day, we were all pals, and that's a good thing.
You've got to get the club, it just gets you, it does, it gets you. Steph uses a fish hook one, and it's quite right, it's just something about the club when you're here, you don't want to leave. So.
Obviously, there's plenty that the supporters will see and know about the club. What's some of the stuff that they don't see for two of the guys who work behind the scenes a fair bit? What is it that the supporters don't see that goes on day to day to make what goes on out there happen?
The things that keep the club alive. The things that the supporters see is 90 minutes on a Saturday, or some of the fans come down and watch the training. And you know, back in the day when we never had social media and the weather was horrible, you know, we had to rig floodlights up and run about in the mud, and on a Tuesday night committee meeting then roll the park, you know. So to have the facilities now is great, but there's a million things goes on at every club, and you know, sometimes, you know, you've got to then pinch yourself and say, just what Craig says, where we are now to where we are then, there's a lot of guys and some of them aren't here, you know. who, if it wasn't for the guys way back in the 80s and the 90s and the early 2000s, we wouldn't be here.
Ian said it on the head there, right? Fans see the 90 minutes on Saturday and they see the result, and that's all they're fans. Well, listen, we're all fans, eh? And it's tough. Again, Ian said social media there, it's a killer for me at times. Social media is really difficult because
Secret's not you read it.
That's true, because losing football games isn't how would I put it? It's not one of my favourite things ever. I didn't like it. Kelty get beaten on Saturday, that's me to the following Saturday, because you got another opportunity next week to try and win again. And obviously the way the season's went so far, it's been a bit indifferent. We all know that, but fans can be tough, and that's not just here.
Fans can be cruel, man.
Aye,
fans can be cruel.
You get hit with a pile of money, I'm entitled to my opinion, which of course you are. But you just got to sort of rein it in at times, and I'm not just hitting here. There's other teams out there, and the fact that you see some teams going, they're struggling now, and their fans are. It's tough. It must be tough for their human beings as well.
But the biggest thing, Shaun, right? In 50 years or 50 years of the club, the good times far outweigh the bad times, and there isn't many clubs that can say that in Scotland. So we've got a lot to be thankful for, and I've got to say, in my time, whenever we hit a bad spell, we come out it stronger. So I think that's the lesson that we've got to learn for the bad times, is make sure that we learn from it and we dig in even harder and make it better the next time.
Looking back, you both got us this at the start with you though. What would you say is your proudest moment on a personal level since being involved at Kelty? What's that proudest moment for 1970 now?
As player or just in general?
Just any. Supporter, player, sporting director.
As a player, I suppose, scoring goals and winning league titles and trophies for the club. As a player, obviously that. Scoring 123 goals as a personal, for me it's a great achievement. Obviously there's another two players scored more than me, but we'll not mention them.
If anybody watches back any podcast, you'll get scored 123 because you slip on every time.
It's part of my contract. But as a sport director, it's an excitement to your day-to-day stuff, dealing with the rest of the board who are here for 5-6 times a day on a daily basis. There's always something to deal with, which is great. Frustrating at times, but great. And then go to away games as a director of the club, who you support, being in the boardrooms, getting that prawn sandwich instead of going and getting a pie, and then sitting, taking your seat and watching the team, thinking, saying, okay, what, you've got a small percentage of input to how that team's run. It's a great feeling. It's a football manager in real life, if that makes sense, and I really enjoy it, I must admit. But a high point is when we're winning, and a low point is when we're not winning.
And the high points are really high and the lows are
they are, that's football, yeah.
What about yourself, Ian? What's, like, you've got loads of people, which is
just major milestones for the club for way back. I mean, the biggest one obviously is going from amateur to junior to senior. But these are massive jumps, right? And to bring senior football back into the village after something like 80 odd years was quite phenomenal. But for me, winning our first league title in 1990-91, getting to the 99 final, getting to the 2007 final, winning our first ever senior trophy, AC Scotland, and every day is a highlight now, because to be involved with this club and to see where we've come from with a lot of hard work, for people who are volunteers, remember, people who it's their hobby, is a major milestone. And as I say, everybody that's been involved there all the years have got a lot to be proud of, because to see the facilities, to see where they are, and although we're not doing so well the new on the pitch, there's more good things going on at the club than there's bad things. There's the academy, there's the new pitch coming, there's the new car park, there's the continual upgrade of the facilities. So every day, bring on the morning, bring on the next day, bring on Saturday, bring on whatever comes to your way, because we're up for it.
you mentioned it there, that was my next point. It goes a little bit further than just a football club, community club, about 300 kids that come in and play every week, and a youth academy now as well. First, the community club, when did that sort of first come about that we were going to incorporate?
Way back in the day, it was always a dream. It was always a dream to have a you know, we dabbled with Kelty Hearts Colts way back in the 90s, but at that time we never had the facilities, we never had floodlights. You know, I was saying to George the other day, I've got the minutes for the very first meeting that we went to get floodlights. 1998. In fact, it was maybe earlier than that. And the people that were meeting were Bob Mull, who was the provost at that time. Jim Brennan was the local councillor. You know, and it was like, but it was, there was no money, it was just, so when the floodlights arrived in 2015, I remember coming down here and there was about 200 kids running about. I stood on the centre spot and great like a baby, because I was so proud of what the village, no me, no, everybody that was involved had made it happen, and it was just a wonderful moment.
Something you sometimes take for granted as well, when you think about the big milestones like that, because it's been there for over 10 years, or the pitch seems like it's been here for ages as well. And just take it for granted, but you're right, there's been some big steps out of the past.
I think a massive high as well as seeing any academy player or any community club player getting tripped on a Saturday, because that's the goal, that's why that's there. And trying to be the first, who'd be the first to come through for the 20s.
Maybe Scotty Cameron.
I was thinking it was Scotty Cameron, but maybe Jordan Hunter actually. Remember, he scored a bit Forfar in the cup and actually won us a game. We beat Forfar 2-1 and Jordan scored, and I think he was one of the first to go up and actually to get a game. And
see one of the things for me, Shaun, right, and we didn't shout it for the rooftops enough, is that the loan thing, there's so many good young players came to this club and went back to their clubs better players. But I could go back to the 90s. We got Colin Cameron on loan for Raith Rovers way back in the early 90s. With Colin here for about 7 months. Scored goals for fun, went back to the Rovers, went to Ireland, went back to Rovers, won the League Cup, went to Hearts, went to Wolves, played for Scotland. He brought a Scotland strip up signed. It's up in the hospitality. Way back then we were successful at improving players. Connor Barron, you know, Jack Milne. Alfred Barby scored 4 the other night. You know, Max. But we're good at it, and what makes me proud is that the guys who are running the club now, not just on the pitch but off it as well, on the pitch and off it, is that there's big clubs, huge clubs in Scotland who feel confident about giving us their players because they know they're going to get game time, they're going to get looked after, and they're going to develop, and that's what it's all about, I think.
Agree with that.
See, if you could go back to when you first joined Kelty, a lot has changed, there's been a lot of improvements, but is there anything for when you first came to Kelty, those the playing years, if you could take it from then and drop it into today's game, that you would?
The game has changed, so you can't, I've said before on previous podcasts, a Saturday, 4:45, you come off the park, you got changed, and you walked out the bottom gate, down to the Lindsay Tavern, to the karaoke, if you could get on it for Ian. And that was your Saturday night. So the team bonding, I think, back then was different. And I'll flip that to say I totally understand the boys now are athletes, and they too kind of pastimes didn't
travel as well.
With the travel as well.
I mean, back in the day, we had one bus. So all the players were on that bus, all the committee, and any seats left went to fans. So I remember way back years ago about the coming back in the bus was a nightmare if you were beat. Because the fans, not just the committee giving them a doing, the fans were giving them pelters. So that type of thing.
But the game has changed, so that's a hard one to hang with. But team spirit, team morale is high in there. I know that for a fact, and it's always been high in that changing room. So I'd say maybe a team.
So that's another comparison. It was important back then, and it's still important today.
Changing rooms.
Yeah, they're good dressing room.
Something.
Absolutely.
Aye, that's vital, it's key, eh?
And what about looking at the opposite? Ian, if you could take someone from Kelty Hearts right now and drop it into the 80s.
Facilities.
And they say that, I knew you were
It's
saying
got to be the
floodlights.
facilities. Eh? Wait, you know, see when we came into the juniors, the players couldn't wait to go down to Glenorchy because they had a big bath. Okay, we had 3 showers at the queue to get a shower in our pavilion. It was a skip, right? I get that, right? But it was better when we took it over. That's the point I'm trying to make. You know, it was a cold boiler, but the park had to come down and light the fire under to get hot water.
We trained out there, just at the back there, where the park is, with a spotlight. I think either Ian or Rab got it for the dockyard or something, so it didn't work.
I used to come down straight from my work, and it was 2 floodlights on a bracket, and I used to take it and we had a kid's chute, and I used to bolt it onto the chute to gear the guys' lights. There was only a light on one side of the boat. As the players used to do the fellas, "Hey, come on, we can't get 2 flights in. Because we couldn't get the power down."
That's it. The Russell Road got one used to wind up, and it was
Was it no Brian Ingalls? Brian Ingalls got a portable pylon with a floodlight.
But
Brian had to come down after his work and set it up, and then when the players stopped, that had to be taken down and put away. It was crazy.
So I can understand.
But I get crazy because if we won on Saturday, it was worth it.
Yeah, definitely.
But the other thing with the coin is, and we've spoke about it, when you get beat, you've still got to do what you've got to do. You've still got to wash the strips, you've still got to take the nets down, you've still got to clean the dressing rooms, you've still got to sell the tickets to get some money in. So
these are things we spoke about earlier about what fans didn't see. Okay, they're just rattled off for 2 or 3 things. There's a lot goes on on a daily basis.
I mean, we never had a kit man. Gus used to deliver all the bits of kit to your house. We used to hide at the back of the curtains because here's the dirty strip fairy coming. You know, and I would get the tops, and my trusty would get the shorts, and somebody would get the socks, and somebody would get the tracksuits. Then you go there.
This is just taking a wee bit of a tangent. What's the best story you can tell us about the last 50 years, the last 40 years that you can tell on a podcast? What's one of the best stories you've got for your time at Kelty?
Just there's hundreds of them, eh? But you know, I wrote it before. Many in the olden days, you used to pray for an away day up north, and that was your bonding session. We called it something different in the olden days, eh? And we drew Fockerburs in the Scottish Cup. The Fockerburs were in I don't know what week, and we went away up to Fockerburs, and we played them at Keith's Park. A beautiful facility, and they had just won the Highland Challenge Cup or something. So we left at 9 o'clock in the morning. We had a telly on the bus, right? And I had a video of the Germany-France semi-final. Remember when the goalkeeper come out and nailed them, way back. So we put the video on for the football. Stopped for breakfast. It was like, well, the players go breakfast. They go scrambled egg and toast. We got a couple of halves in the lounge. Went up there. We go Beach Street 2, nightmare, horrible day. Beach Street 2, but we were booked into Keith's Social Club at night, which was the thing to do back in the day. So we went there, absolutely blittered. It was a great Drown Your Sorrows. Tom McDonald up singing, and it was absolutely brilliant. And we were off, and I was in charge of the bus, right? And we get in the bus and driver, everyone on, aye, let's go. And we all fell asleep. Boys were waking up, and people had threw their shoes out the window and shaved their eyebrows and all that stuff. But we left 5. We left 5 of them. So Tom Brown was one of them, Eric McMullen. Eric's wife was going to leave him, and it was a nightmare. But looking back on it now, Tuesday night at the training, it was what a laugh we had. Can't have a laugh about what it is. But to leave 5, Keith Campbell started walking, but he was walking in the opposite direction. He was walking towards Iceland.
Something's changed though, because that's one of my last memories of Kelty is getting the bus to the Albiti. And we played the Albiti Star, and I don't know if everybody were on it, but the bus took out a car. So the bus tried to go around the corner in the back end, just took a jag out.
I've got pictures of it.
But the Jaguar was parked on the way of the line, so it was on him. So everybody piled out, and I remember Tam Courts bought about 20 bottles of Buckfast. The whole shelf was gone. He just bought them for the bus, and folk went into the pub. I can't remember the boy's name. It was a young blonde boy that played right back at that time, and he was in the shitter when we left, and we couldn't turn the bus around, so we got half a mile away, and Murray McDowell had to get out, run back to the pub, and then we just seen the two of them running back up.
It's funny that their memories have nothing to do with the game. It's all about what happens after it.
He's asked mine there. I'm trying to wrap my brains. Obviously, winning. I said that, I spoke about it earlier. Winning every game, or winning games. Sorry, in the first division is
123 goals.
Aye. I forgot to add that. But so again, it's a bus journey, and it's coming back for Livingston that Friday night after beating Petersfield.
Kingdom FM came with us.
That's
and
right.
You were doing a bit on the radio and everything.
Aye, but I can mind Ian especially being the go-to man on the bus, and I can remember coming on. It was at the Old Force Road Bridge at the time, and the bus, I kid you not, was like that, with everyone dancing and jumping from side to side. I think we're not going to make this, and we got back and we went down to the Lindsay Tavern, and I've never seen a pub so busy in my life.
That was a Friday.
It was a Friday night.
It was the ultimate look-in. We didn't come out to the Sunday morning.
I was there. I think all decided to go to the Halibeath game on the Saturday, so I went out to their game, and then we were back down there on the Saturday night until all the hours. But this is making us look like a team of alcoholics, but back then I suppose it was.
Back then that was.
But it was bus journeys is massive.
Listen, it's no any different nowadays than it was at then. I mean, the social side of the game is great. You spoke about the boardroom. You can go to boardrooms, have a drink, get the story, find out how they're getting on, and that's where a lot of things are done for improvements. The very first cabin we got, which is the old boardroom now, managed to acquire that for the Dotyer, and that idea came from Tayport. We played Tayport in the Scottish Cup, and then a porter cabin that was a hospitality lounge. And I says to the boys coming back, I says, we need to get a hospitality lounge. And I approached Babcock and we got that cabin, and then we turned it into it was Thomson's bar back in the day, but it was a great facility because it was just an add-on. And then we got another one, and then we managed to get other bits and pieces. We demolished the old pavilion. 94, we speak about things that was important to the club. We built a new pavilion in 93, 94. And that itself was massive because what we had was horrible.
Well, there's no shortage of porter cabins here now, so we've got plenty here. Looking at today's football, you've already mentioned it, Ian, it's been highs and lows. What's kind of the biggest thing you can take away from the now? Heads are down with some of the supporters, you mentioned it earlier on, and players and committee and alike. You've I assume experienced this before.
Listen, I come down here every time I walk through the gates, I'm in awe of what's here. And I like to speak to people in hospitality, and I like to speak to other people for other clubs and fans and stuff. And you go by Bovril and see things like Kelty's the best lady because they got a pint, they got a decent pie, they got a decent game, and it's a decent wee facility. And the amount of people that come here thinking it's just a junior ground get a shock by the way. And if we could keep investing, get money in, and make the facilities even better, then it can only be good for the club, for sure.
Well, yourself, Tiger, when you look at the next month or two, what are some of the big objectives?
So cliches to win football games, obviously, and that, I mean, the Gaffers in the same frame of mind as us, and the players are as well. Look, we could sit here all night and say injuries, we're a young side, and they're facts, but we've proven that we can handle ourselves in this league. We can beat big teams. We're a right good side when everybody's fit. We've got Cove to look forward to, obviously on Saturday, then again in the Scottish Cup, 4th round, which are a cup that we've never had. I say we've never had a decent draw. We've had the holders and beat them. We beat St Johnstone right enough, but is this our time? Is this our time? I was looking at, can we get one of the so-called big two? Can we get a Rangers or an Aberdeen? Can we do that? Or even a Hearts now, I suppose you'd mention them. Can we get them? You never know. But that's a dream. That's a dream to try and get one of the big guns. But Saturday's the most important day, innit? I mean, it's a home tie against a team who's a point above us, so it's very, very important we take something for that game.
Well, obviously celebrated the last 50 years kind of throughout the season, and at the start of this podcast talked a wee bit about the now. 10 years ago that pitch was in the midst of getting laid. What about 10 years from now? What do you reckon? What do you think's on the horizon?
Well, the new pitches, it's one of the things I spoke about earlier, is the positives that's happening. The club have managed to secure the funding, and there'll be a new pitch getting laid next year for the start of the next season. That's lasted 10 years, and it's only lasted 10 years because we've looked after it. And it gets its checks and stuff. So the pitch next season will hopefully take us another 10 years, and if we could keep upgrading and get the right people in, the recruitment's good. Who's to say? That everybody said that when we joined the seniors that in the juniors there was a glass ceiling and all that rubbish. We've come into this league. People say to me often, so what's the ambition? The ambition is to be as good as we can be, have the best facilities we can have, get the best players. It's just, and every club's saying that. So it's up to us as a group, as a committee, as a board, as a playing squad and staff. Let's do it.
What would you say Kelty means to you personally, Tiger?
What's that?
What does Kelty mean to you personally?
A lot, definitely a lot. I was going to say everything there, but it's a lot. You wouldn't put the hard hours in. I mean, my work just gets in my road. I could actually do without working and could take a role like Stuart Millsbrook, who's now retired and just sits about in his nan. Stuart's just walked in, obviously. No, listen, the effort the guys put in, fortunately, we've got guys who are retired who can do a lot more than the guys who are working. I see what they guys do, and it's forever grateful to them because they do a lot of hard hours when they should really be golfing or lying on the couch with their feet up, but they didn't. They're at the cold face, and Marcel and Steph and Gary and John and the rest of us on the board there, we pick up other bits and pieces, but listen, we're driven, we know that, we know what we want for the club, and Ian spoke about the next 10 years, where could we be? We could all dream, we all play the lottery, a stand, we'd love another new stand.
I think the biggest thing for me is that during 2021, 21-22, winning the league, we've proven that if we get it right on the pitch, the people will come out and back us for sure.
That's a difficult one, eh? I mean, getting fans is really, really hard. That's been proved the last couple of years. I mean, we had bigger crowds probably when we were in the second division. We were winning every week, and that's just a natural football result. Thing that happens to people. They want to go if you're getting beat. People's heads go down. I understand that, and we won every week barely in the second division. But so the crowds are difficult, and you've then got being a new club trying to get new fans in. But slowly but surely, you see a lot of younger guys come to games. Again, the community club are starting to come to games now. So that's the future.
I'm confident if we get it right on the pitch, that the fans will come back.
Couple of quick fire questions to finish it out for you. Right, take away the financial gain, Ian. Would you prefer in the Scottish Cup a glamour, let's say, quarter final against Rangers, or Hill of Beef?
My head says Rangers, but my heart would say Hill of Beef.
Craig, player or sport director? Which role do you prefer?
That's a good question. Player.
Ian, a big away day or a big crowd at home here?
You need to ask my trusty. No, I think at the end of the day, because your crowd is what 2,300. If police, the police would step in like they have it off and let. But listen, the St Johnstone game was wonderful. One of the best days for a Kelty fan. You know, the hospitality was in the big lounge. It was absolutely mad, and what a result it was on the telly, brilliant. So, listen, as long as we get through, I'm not bothered.
Didn't understand the quick fire question. I suppose it was a quick fire for you.
Sorry.
That's the bad
The last one was actually for Craig, but I kind of want to keep both your answers. Kelty Hearts Scottish Cup final, Scotland World Cup final. What would you prefer? Kelty Scottish Cup final.
Kelty, because I would manage to go. I'm not going to America.
That's a great question. Did they win it?
Just in it.
Go on, man.
I'd say Kelty in the Scottish Cup final.
You little liar.
Stuart Mill, Scotland in the World Cup final or Kelty Hearts in the Scottish Cup final?
First choice, let's get it in the Scottish Cup final.
There we go, that's the three answers. Right, excellent. Thank you very much, boys. Anything else to add? Any last messages?
Kelty forever.
Just looking forward to Saturday. Onwards and upwards.
Happy days. Thanks, lads.
Cheers, guys.